and thank you for joining today's webinar hosted by Nexonet about increasing satisfaction with Customer 360 data. My name is Brian Atkiss. I'm a Director of Applied Intelligence at Nexonet. And this is the first in a three-part summer webinar series around customer experience. So be sure to tune in on August 18th for the next one, and August 22nd or September 22nd for the last in the series. So as far as today's webinar, the agenda and what we're going to go through is just a quick overview of a Nexonet and who we are, and then dive deep into Customer 360 and how Customer 360 solutions can be built to solve for customer experience and improving customer satisfaction and other types of business initiatives related to that. And then we'll also talk about a strategic consulting process in order to implement a Customer 360 solution, a few case studies, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat throughout, and we'll answer them at the end. So, just real quick on who a Nexonet is. We are a 20-year-old, over 20-year-old company that focuses on, improving, companies, ability to solve for customer experience, digital experience, just really empowering the future of business. And we do this a number of different ways through consulting, where we provide expertise around, digital transformation, enterprise architecture, and then from a digital experience, just helping build customer engagement, employee enablement solutions. Within Applied Intelligence, this is really focused on data and analytics type of solutions. So this is where Customer 360 falls, but that also includes things like social listening, operational analytics, automation, and artificial intelligence. And then lastly, we have the cloud expertise to provide the infrastructure to run any sort of applications that your customers or your employees interact with. So diving a little deeper into the applied intelligence arena, which again is where Customer 360 sits, there's a number of solutions that Nexonet offers in that area around voice of the customer, social listening, web analytics. But in addition to that, we offer solutions around conversational AI and automation. So that's really using AI and automation solutions to help automate, customer service interactions or IT service automation as well. And then lastly, we have intelligent business or traditional, business intelligence, where we're providing services and end-to-end data and analytics solutions. So that said, we'll jump into Customer 360 and why building out Customer 360 solutions is important for your business. And so the true thing about building a great digital experience is to incorporate data from your customers, as much data as makes sense, in order to power whatever experience you're looking to build. And so that includes bringing in data from a number of different data sources, whether that's CRM data, social media data, app and clickstream behavior, the usage data, if there's billing and ordering data, or even call center data that your customers are calling in, and incorporating that into your 360-degree view. So all of the data that you need to bring in order to solve business challenges, and ultimately what you're able to do by doing that is to improve sales and marketing efficiency. So, that's one of the key things. So you can develop more personalized campaigns and messaging to your customers based on bringing in all of this data. You can also enhance predictive analytics. So if you're integrating all of these different data sources, you have the ability to just identify which data points are actually do predict certain behaviors from customers, and then utilize that to then make those predictions and drive actions off of those predictions. Additionally, you can increase customer satisfaction. So if you're providing a consistent, customer service across channels. If your messaging is personalized, your customers will be more satisfied. They'll understand that they'll know that you understand who they are and what their desires and wants are, and all of that ultimately builds customer loyalty as well. So you create a connected experience again across multiple channels, and it's presenting relevant and personalized information. Your customers will become more loyal. So that's really what building a customer 360 solution is for. And just to dive a little bit deeper into why you're doing that and what sort of outcomes you can expect from building that, the customer 360 is really what this bottom layer of data. And so when you're collecting all of the data around your customers, again, the examples I gave on the previous slide, but really what in order to make use of this, it's building advanced analytics off of that data. So doing predictive analytics, using other types of analytics and data models and AI type of services to make sense of that data. And then once you've made sense of it, you actually have to drive actions off of it. So, that would be, making recommendations or creating more personalized content that you send out to your customers when they initiate a certain type of behavior, right? And so an example of that might be, everyone, a hot topic in the market is around, personalization and personalizing content, and whether that's email content or any other type of channel that you're interacting with your customers. You would use the data that you've gathered from your customer 360. If someone clicks on a certain part of your website and then that they're interested in something related to that, to then follow up with them in an email the next day with personalized content, because you've gathered all that data and you understand what their interests are. And then going even beyond that, if certain things around life events for your customers, or other aspects that you're able to infer from all of the data that you collect on them, you can then predict that this type of messaging would be most relevant to the customer, send that at the right time on the right channel, and it could be multiple channels or just one channel, and then you're able to again provide that better experience for your customers. And then the last piece of this, which is a critical component, is all of this these interactions you're having with customers, including making recommendations. If they ultimately drive behavior from those customers, you want to capture that data and put it back into your this bottom layer, your customer 360, to just become smarter and get even more, gather more data, and generate more actions off of that data that you're gathering. So again, the critical component of this, it's much more than just collecting data, right? You don't just want to collect the data. Ultimately, you want to understand what actions am I going to drive to create a better experience for my customers, and then what data do I need to drive those actions. One critical component of customer 360 solution is voice of the customer data. So when we talk about voice of the customer data, this is more data that you're getting direct feedback from your customers. So again, think about social media data. This could be survey data. And again, it could be survey net promoter score or customer satisfaction survey data, where the customers are asked to rate your company from on a score of 1 to 10, or how likely would they be to recommend your company. But then there's also unstructured data components of those surveys, which would ask them to put free-form text to why they answered the way they did, and ultimately a great voice of the customer solution would bring all of that data together and analyze that text data to give more context on why a customer scored your company the way they did. But again, it could also include call center data, so taking customer calls that are calling in about specific issues that they're having, or just even if they want to sign up for a particular service. Most call centers record those calls, and you can have the ability to take those call recordings, run speech to text analytics on them, get text transcripts of that, and then ultimately analyze that data. Again, along with your other traditional customer data, your transactional database, your loyalty data for specific loyalty customers, and even any other types of data that you've gathered on them, to really truly understand your customers and understand and drive actions for certain behaviors that you're looking to get out of your customers. And then the other component of this is, people often talk about omni-channel, analytics and bringing in lots of different data. And the key thing around omni-channel is in order to truly be omni-channel, you need to bring data together and tie it together using unique customer IDs or other data fields. And this could be across both unstructured and structured data sets. So as opposed to just bringing in data from multiple different channels, but analyzing that data separately and reporting on it separately, omni-channel analytics would really be able to tell you what someone says on one unstructured data channel, like a call recording, and then separately what that same customer said in a survey, and what their policy or account data was associated with that, is really the holy grail of this type of analytics, where you can really get into deep customer journey mapping, customer churn modeling in service-based industries, geographic analysis. Again, we talked about customer satisfaction, and really any other types of correlations that you'd like to run within your data sets. So another component or another aspect of Customer 360 that I want to talk about is, from an overall digital experience perspective, there's a number of things from an enterprise that you would look at in building your sort of digital experience platform, right? And so that includes, ingesting data from your enterprise systems, but then also the various services that go along with that. So that could be your commerce services, so your order management, or if you have web ordering and the ability to do that online, it would include that. Or your marketing services, where you're running certain campaigns and marketing automation, et cetera. All of that sort of goes into a digital experience platform, and certain aspects of that are very relevant to Customer 360. So in order to do the analytics off of your data, and then drive marketing automation or personalization within your campaigns, you need to use Customer 360 data sources and then run these types of analytics in order to do that. And again, all of that can be done across multiple channels, whether that's within an application that you have, a mobile application, a web application, chat interface, phone. There's any number of ways you can interact with your customers. So now that we've sort of done an overview of what Customer 360 is and can include, we want to talk about really how to get started and how to prioritize what you want to ultimately build with a Customer 360 solution. And so we have what we call our strategic consulting process, which is really a three-step type of process that starts with setting the direction, and then goes into some envisioning and building out of a roadmap, and then generating recommendations and next steps. And so when we go through this process in a little bit more detail, the first step is this discovery and requirements gathering, where what we would focus on is, why does your organization want to use Customer 360 solutions? What's the high level vision of that? What are you trying to gain out of that? And really then identify specific qualitative and quantitative business drivers. So, is it to drive customer satisfaction? Is it to improve loyalty? Is it to ultimately increase revenue or increase marketing efficiency? Identify what those business drivers are, and then who are the target users and stakeholders of this. Ultimately it's likely your customers, right? But are there different segments of customers that you have that you would want to target in different ways, and understanding those segments. And then if you have any current solutions, what are some of the current gaps within those solutions? And then that sort of goes into assessing your current state. So what customer data sources exist? Is there voice of the customer sources? Are there transactional data? Is there demographic data? Any preference and usage data? Identify what the systems associated with those data sources are. Review sample data. And understand the architecture and integrations that already exist within those systems, and then assess the different analytics and actions that can be driven from that. So what techniques and tools are currently in place to drive analytics, and then what actions are being taken, or ultimately would you like to be taken on that data in order to meet those business drivers that we've identified in the beginning steps. So once that occurs, then we would go to what we call solution envisioning and prioritization. So we'd identify some, a large list of use cases for customer 360 solutions. And again, one might be to just take a very simple approach, like build a customer churn model, or send personalized emails to a specific segment of customers. And then we'd identify a long list of those use cases, and then we'd identify also for those use cases what data is necessary, and then prioritize them based on business value, organizational readiness, and ease of implementation. And we would essentially be doing a readiness assessment of your current state versus your future state. Then that would also go into a solution envisioning, where we identify the top critical features of a customer 360 solution, and then start to showcase the art of the possible, and develop high level prototypes and UI designs for the experience you're looking to build with your customers. And then that would go into the more technical architecture of this solution. So again, what are the systems and data sources? What integrations are required? What platforms need to exist? What's the right architecture? What are the infrastructure requirements? Where is this application or set of databases or whatever it is going to be hosted? Also, what are the security and compliance and privacy considerations that need to be identified, right? There's, especially when you're looking at customer data and the proliferance of privacy regulations that are expanding, right? It started with GDPR, but now CCPA in the US and additional states are jumping in with their own privacy regulations as well. You need to take all of that into consideration. So how are you going to comply with those regulations, but still be able to provide customer 360 solutions to again provide a better experience for your customers? And so just circling back, this three-step approach is really meant to provide ultimately a roadmap and recommendations for how to implement this solution. And we typically do this in a very quick time frame. So usually around 3 weeks, where we'll go in and within those 3 weeks we'll perform all of those tasks that I just described. And then you ultimately end up with that roadmap and recommendations. And there's a robust set of deliverables that come out of this, which includes understanding what that business context is, this scenario matrix where you have your prioritized use cases, what the solution architecture would look like, so the solution vision, some art of the possible, UI elements and prototypes that exists, the readiness assessment, and then ultimately a readout, which includes the roadmap and an implementation plan to build the solutions that are highest priority for your organization. So, moving out of that strategic consulting process and into a few case studies of, customer examples that have leveraged this type of solution. We'll start with an example of using and building an omni-channel data platform to improve customer experience. This was for a leading property and casualty insurance company, and ultimately what this company was looking to do was improve their customer experience by analyzing customer data across a number of different channels and predict attrition and loyalty based on patterns that we've identified across the various data sets, and then correlate customer satisfaction with other data elements. So ultimately, what the solution was to integrate data from social media, so customers interacting on social media, customers interacting on customer satisfaction surveys, and then because this was an insurance company, they also, anytime a customer had a claim, they would also get a survey for their claim experience, and we look at those survey responses, and then correlate that with their other more traditional like claims data sets, their policy data of 100 million members within their organization, and understand who each of these individuals are and what their survey responses and social data said about them. And then ultimately we went and built predictive analytics models to predict customer churn and attrition based on a number of different data elements. So we would look at things like within the survey responses or in social media data, what issues they described and how they talked about those issues, and then what correlation that had with either their age, the tenure, how long they've been with the company, who their previous provider was, what geographic location they were, what their net promoter score was, and then using all of that to ultimately predict that future customers with similar conditions would ultimately cancel, and then identify ways and actions that can be used to mitigate that and prevent a future customer from churning. And then that same analysis was also done to predict loyalty, and then identify who are your most loyal customers, and then do different tactics to target those loyal customers and keep them loyal. Another example, and this is for a pharmaceutical company, so more focused around patient experience, but was building a self-service analytics solution that integrated health outcome data with marketing data. So ultimately, using this to improve patient experience and predict outcomes, and deliver actionable marketing messages to patients. So this was a data platform that was built integrating a lot of large health data sets and using third-party cookie data that was anonymous and stayed anonymous in order to remain HIPAA compliant, but was able to still match with particular health data from other third-party health data providers, that could tell this organization on at a segment level if certain groups of people within a condition or that have a certain disease, what their health outcomes were. Take an example, might be diabetes, where whichever patients that had a recent blood test that detected their A1C levels were above a certain threshold, identify what their behavior was on the website, and when they went and interacted with the company's website, and certain pages within the website, to identify what those patterns are, and then being able to both predict them and then inform marketing decisions and messaging throughout. And again, doing this in a HIPAA compliant manner. This next example is another insurance company. This was an auto insurance example, more focused around contact center efficiency and using natural language processing and data analytics to increase the efficiency of their call center. And we looked at call center voice recording data, call notes, their policy and claims data, and integrated all of that together to identify multiple areas where they could increase efficiency within their contact center to generate cost savings. So identifying why customers were calling in, what actions could be driven to prevent certain types of calls or prevent repeat calls, again, to ultimately lead to significant cost savings within their operations. And then this last case study that we'll talk about was a utility and an energy company that was looking to improve acquisition and retention of customers, and then also deploy early alert and warning detection for sensitive topics. And so we looked at call center voice recording data, email interactions, and CRM data, and brought all of that data together and analyzed it using machine learning, sentiment, and tone models, identifying certain topics within the voice recording data and the email data, to ultimately look at patterns of why customers were either signing up or leaving, and then look at ways to improve their messaging and ways that they're interacting with those particular customers. So that's just a handful of case studies that we wanted to showcase and show the different sort of angles and ways you can leverage customer data to improve satisfaction or increase efficiency within your organization. So at this point, I want to open it up to some Q&A, and I'll feel free to type any questions you have in the chat box, and we'll look to answer those questions.
Hi, Brian. It's Patty. Great job today.
Hi, Patty.
We have a couple questions that came through. The first is, do I need to bring all of my customer data together for a true customer 360 solution?
That's a really good question. So the short answer is no, and the reason why is, when we talked about and went through that kickstart process, that what you ultimately want to do is identify what use cases are you looking to solve for, and really going back to like those actions. What actions are you looking to drive? Is it drive personalization for specific segments of customers and across X number of channels, or to make recommendations, or any other types of actions that you might want to drive. The key is to identify all of those. What actions do you want to drive, and then what data is required in order to do that. You don't necessarily need to bring all of your data together. That's obviously a large undertaking, and also a large amount of data to then support that you don't necessarily need to support, right? So you only really want to bring in the data that you need to. And so it's, when we talk about Customer 360, and I think over the years, it's come to people sort of think, oh, I need to bring all of my data and then I'll figure out what to do with it. But really, it's the opposite. Figure out what to do with the data and then identify which data you actually need to bring across.
Okay, thank you. One more question. How do I manage privacy and consent within Customer 360 solutions?
That's a really good question. And so I touched on this a little bit, and through that, the Kickstart process, that would be something we look to evaluate is when you identify what data you are going to be bringing in and storing it and utilizing from a customer perspective, if the growth of privacy regulations and consent, where you need to customers have the ability to opt out of what data you're collecting on them, you need to provide a way to purge that data for specific customers, and a process to do that. So that doesn't mean you can't collect customer data. It just means you have to have a process in place to remove that data when there are certain requests. And another aspect of sort of data privacy and compliance is a lot of that applies primarily to first-party data, right? When I know who a customer is, and so you have control, and you can build a process in order to do that. But there's also, a future where third-party cookie data will be, largely going away, and so that's going to change the way, organizations are able to generate, sort of insights off of their customers, and then predict and produce messaging for their customers. And that's honestly ultimately going to lead to more first-party data being utilized. And that's where, bringing all of this data together is critical. But again, having a process in place to deal with those compliance regulations is very critical and important.
Okay, that's all we have today. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Patty, for bringing over the questions, and I want to thank everyone for joining. And again, I just want to just touch on the fact that there will be 2 more sessions within this customer experience webinar series. So on August 18th, we'll be touching on social media and how to uncover trends and customer opinions with social media data. And then September 22nd, we'll talk about how your employee experience affects your customer experience, and and how to first of all understand that, and then leverage that to build solutions where your employees can ultimately influence your customer experience and improve your customer experience. So and anyone who does attend all 3 of these sessions will be able to get a complimentary social media analysis of their brand. And then additionally, if you have any any questions or would like to learn more about anything Customer 360 related to your organization, please feel free to reach out to a Nexonet, anyone at Nexonet, across any different channels, and we'd be happy to do an evaluation and identify if you're a good candidate for a Kickstarter or similar type of engagement. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and have a great rest of your day.